I think I'll start out today just a couple thoughts about NAU in that game, and then my preference would be to move on and talk about Northern Colorado. The NAU game was a situation of what I would call perfect storm, where we ran into a team that had a good game plan. They executed their plan extremely well. They defended our offense with their offense by keeping our offense on the sideline. That was a good plan, and they executed that. And then we made a few mistakes on offense and had some short drives early, and that contributed to the plan, and it just snowballed from there. So it was a great performance. We know looking back on it, it wasn't our best showing of the year by far, but there's things we can learn from that, and we'll take away from it. We played well in the second half. I'm proud of the way our guys competed in the second half. We came back, shut NAU down, had some drives, got a touchdown, and had some opportunities, but we fell short. So to me, that game's history. We learned a lot from it, and our focus now is to move on and try to improve our play this week and get back on the winning track.
Piggybacking off that last game, you mentioned NAU's strategy to keep your offense off the field. Can you foresee other offenses trying to use that strategy against you? And what's your defense going to need to do to stop that kind of stuff from happening?
That's a good point, Will. I mean, this happens throughout the season as things get put on tape. People see those and then try to recreate them. Good plays, good concepts, good designs, fakes, tricks, whatever. And once it's on tape, it's there for anybody to use. So yeah, I think all of our future opponents will see that it was very effective to keep our offense on the sideline. Whether or not someone else can execute it as well as Northern Arizona did, that remains to be seen. And we do have to make adjustments. That's why we watch all the tape, is to see how to make those adjustments. And we'll make some changes. We've already got some in the works to try to get some plays, some more zero yardage and negative yardage plays, which will put our opponents in long yardage situations that'll be more difficult to convert. That's got to be our plan.
Northern Colorado, did they look like a team that could do that? I mean, 3 great running backs. They have a quarterback that can scramble, move out of the pocket on third down. He needs to get those big completions on third down. I mean, they look like a team that could potentially exceed that point.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with Northern Colorado. They should have won the game against Eastern, in my opinion. They played extremely well on offense. Orms was outstanding, with both his feet and with his arm. He engineered some terrific drives. They had some big plays. Running backs ran well. I thought offensively they played hard and well, and they had a good opportunity. They were ahead 28-21 with 5-6 minutes left in the game. So I'm very impressed with what they've done. And yes, I think they have the ability on offense to not only control the ball but score points, and that's a concern.
They've had a couple close games in the Big Sky, obviously going back to Weber in the opening week. They've also been blown out a couple times. Do you see anything from those couple games that maybe they didn't compete in that you guys will be able to exploit?
To me, the biggest difference is at the quarterback position. When Orms has been playing, they've been putting points on the board and they've been competitive. And the games where they didn't score as many points were games when he wasn't playing. So I think a lot of it has to do with the quarterback. They have a good cast of characters. I'm not saying that they're a one-man team or anything like that, but a good quarterback and who can make plays makes a difference. And when he's playing, they just seem to put more points on the board.
So would that be the key to the game, making sure you're able to stop him in the passing game?
I think stopping their offense, yeah. I mean, he's the key to the offense in a lot of respects because he does scramble and run and he throws. But they have good running backs, 2 good backs. They have some very good receivers, and so it's more a matter of just trying to limit and control their entire offense. And he's the focal point of that. But I'm concerned if we just try to stop Dylan Orms, somebody else is going to beat us. So we have to concentrate on the whole package.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I mean, what does it say to the level of maturity for Denarius to kind of mention the fact that he wasn't hitting his reads as kind of an explanation for why things kind of went, off kilter for you guys? Not to harp on the previous game, I apologize.
I think every player on the football team should have the same attitude Denarius did. I need to do better at my job. Just like me as a coach, I have to have that same approach. I need to do better as a head coach. My assistant coaches need to do better in their role. Anytime you have a loss like that, I think we need to accept responsibility for what happened in that game. I really appreciate Denarius doing that. I think Alex Terrian did the same thing in his comments, and so did Caleb. I think anybody you ask on our team would say there are ways I can get better, and then when I get better, then our team will get better. That's just our approach.
And you talked about you guys are working on some new things to kind of bolster the defense. I mean, are these total fresh installs that you guys are going to be doing, or are these things that you kind of had in the offseason but haven't kind of reached into the playbook for yet? Or?
No, I think it's just a question. We've always got more game plan than what we run in any given week. So if if you go in Coach Marshall's defensive war room in there, there's a million calls on the wall, and we just got to pick different calls off that wall and run them, and that's what we're working on right now.
This was just a little, obviously, don't respond to fan emails most of the time, but I mean, these ones, I mean, just seem to come out of left field in a lot of respects, but I mean, considering the amount of points the defense has given up the last 3 weeks, I mean, people calling for Jamie Marshall's job. Obviously, it's ridiculous, but you know, I mean, this is probably the worst stretch for this defense since you've been here. Talk about you know, maybe possible reasons for that.
I think there isn't any question that players make a difference in this game. That's why we recruit. That's why we go out and train in the off season. We lift weights. We try to get the fastest, biggest, strongest, best, smartest players we can out on the field. And right now, our guys that are out there are playing hard, but we're inexperienced. We have a lot of good players that are not on the field. You know, Briggs, Craney, you know, Clay Bignell, Dustin O'Connell. I mean, that's probably our best guy at each one of our positions that's not in there right now. That makes a big difference. Players do make a difference. And you know, we need to be vigilant too as coaches to make sure we're calling the right plays for the players that are out there and adapting as injuries take a toll. That's where we need to improve as coaches. But to ignore the fact that 4 of our best upperclassmen, I keep calling them all seniors, but Big Nelson Jr., to ignore the fact that you know, 4 of our best, most experienced defensive players were not on the field at all in that game. That's you can't ignore that. That's too big a part of what goes on in the game.
Obviously, teams are trying to exploit some of those younger players, especially Sean Gord's past couple games has come under fire at times. How do you do a better job kind of maybe masking some of that inexperience?
You know, corners are they're on an island out there when you blitz and go cover 0. I mean, there was a touchdown scored against one of our safeties. There was a touchdown against Sean. We've had touchdowns against probably every player out there at one point or another. I think it's just more luck of the draw who happened to be covering that receiver on that play than it is anything about Sean Gord's. I think he's playing fairly well myself.
Would you characterize this as a big play team? I mean, big play offense, big play defense. I mean, do you guys live and die by the big play?
You talking about our defense?
I mean, both offense and the defense. I mean, if the offense doesn't get the big play, it seems that things kind of.
I wouldn't really.
Our
offense, to me, has been more steady than big play. I mean, we've hit some big plays occasionally, but to me, a big play is a 5-yard touchdown too. I think our offense has had some beautiful drives in the course of the season. We've had some good patient, you know, multi-play kind of efforts out there, even if we didn't score touchdowns. We've been very balanced with run and pass. And so I think our offense has been more steady and productive than, you know, big play, all or nothing type of thing. That's not how we roll on offense. I think we've been more steady.
And Coach, going back to the defense, Caleb mentioned that it's a real pride issue. This has been a dominant defense the past few years, and it's almost embarrassing to give up so many points as a defense. Do you feel a lot of the players feel that way?
I thought our second half showed a lot of pride. You know, we came out in the second half and the offense for NAU didn't score a single point. We had 2 turnovers that we got from them. We stopped them every time they had the ball. That's pride right there, and that's what we're going to build on going forward.
And how do you build on that going forward? Do you foresee the defense just shutting it down the rest of the season? What do you need to work on in practice to make sure that happens?
We've got a lot of young players that have to keep working on technique and assignments and responsibilities. Hopefully we'll get healthy, get some people back. Everybody that's out right now has a chance to be back before the season's over, which is very, you know, encouraging for us to look at. I think a combination of getting guys back and seeing these younger players improve every week because they're getting a lot of playing time right now, that bodes well for our end of the season.
Consistency was a point that was brought up earlier. Obviously, your team's played very well for stretches and played pretty poorly for other stretches. You know, how do you get that consistency? Is that something that comes from coaching?
I think it comes from experience, Will, more than anything else. I mean, what you learn as an older player is, you know, how to persist through the whole long 60 minutes of a game. And younger players, and we have a lot of them out there on the field, you know, sometimes their attention span wavers, and you know, I think so. That's a big issue. I think the youth, and I'm not criticizing those players. It's just a function of youth. And you know, from a coaching standpoint, I think we've got to make sure we're putting guys in the position to be successful and to be consistent. Maybe the package is a little big at times, too much for them to remember. Maybe, you know, some of those things. That's what we have to look at as coaches and see if there are ways that we can adjust what we're doing in order to give them better chances to be consistent.
Would you say experience, a big part of experience comes from games like this, and then they get one of these games under the belt where it seems like nothing goes right? Do you think that helps more than maybe just, blowout win after big win?
I think the season always has the ebb and flow and the up and down. I mean, it's just part of the magic of sports. And you hate to lose a game, but we do learn best from heartbreak, and that's when the lessons are the toughest. And so sure, I mean, this is one of those gut wrenching, gut check type of times when you look at it and say, okay, we don't want that to happen again. That didn't feel very good. So what are we going to take from this? I'd prefer to learn lessons in close, hard-fought wins. But sometimes losses are important, and they can be very important in the development of the team.